Right, so I'm at the Toronto International Airport, headed to Miami later this evening. Hopefully it's going to be a short flight. Catch you in that one. Alright, so I am finally here in Miami at one of the beaches. Had a flight from Toronto, so I had fun time in Canada, a wonderful country. It was a 2-hour flight, so not that bad. Topic of this video is the power of a weak passport. Now, I wanted to discuss why a weak passport is in certain cases much better than your commercially available passports, which talk about a lot of access on paper. Also, at the end of the video, I want to share an example how a weak passport can be a lifesaver. There's a very famous personality who actually used one of his weakest passports and one of the weakest passports in the world to actually save his life. So that's upcoming. So before we get started with this discussion, if you're new to my channel, my name is Jay Suresh, and here we discuss investments that lead to residencies and citizenships. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the latest and greatest regarding any of the programs. So the first things first, I wanted to discuss the main advantages, the couple of big advantages of a weak passport. One of the biggest advantage of a weak passport is that the connections that this weaker country has with the outside world. So you don't have these branches that connects this weak country to, or rather I should not say a weak country, but the country that has a weak passport or a weak access isn't really connected to all these countries in some cases. So those links do not exist, which is actually a good thing. Now, it all depends upon why you're looking for a second passport. Now, if you have a really poor passport and your only objective is to get access, then yes, paying and getting one of the commercially available CBIs makes sense because you at least can travel places. But most of my clients are wealthy. They already have either a very strong passport or a mediocre passport or a combination which gives them some access. So they're looking for a true Plan B security. And when you're looking for a true Plan B security, you aren't necessarily looking for access because that's just a duplication. Now, I do know there are certain popular people on YouTube sitting in their studios. They don't travel anymore. They keep talking about multiplying your access and duplicating your access and all of that. That is not Plan B security. Plan B security is sometimes peace of mind, sometimes a low-key place, sometimes an under-the-radar place. You want privacy, you want a low-key option. So that is, in my opinion, what is a true Plan B security. It's not about duplicating access or getting multiple passports just to show how many you have. It's really to protect yourself in cases where you need real protection, which is security and privacy from the external world. Now, I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong or incorrect. I'm just saying sometimes you just don't want to be bothered. You want to be left alone. You want a place which is a getaway where you can peacefully live your life for the time you want. And then obviously you can always come back and then travel the world, etc. So because this weak country or the country with a weak passport doesn't have all these branches going out to all these other so-called strong countries, one of the biggest advantages that you have is that there is less eyes, there's less branches or chains. So once you enter this country of Plan B security, at least you know you have peace of mind. There's less people bothering you. There's more comfort in your place of residency. So that's one of the biggest advantages that I see exists with weaker passport. The second big benefit is that once you enter this country, you're freely roaming around. It's not the most advanced country, which is sometimes you don't want because you come from an advanced country. You know the systems, you know it has all the latest and greatest and cutting edge and tracking and sharing of information and all of that good stuff. Now all that's great, but sometimes you want break, sometimes you want an old school or a village type of a feel. So that's where once you are in your country of Plan B security, you can travel around with less of the high-tech stuff that's going around. Maybe you don't believe in that, right? Maybe you believe in more of a low-key village or countryside life, and some of the advanced countries don't have that countryside life anymore. They have become way too tech, and that is where this weaker country or poorer country is your getaway, where you're getting to move around with a lot of privacy and less of being bothered by external outside forces. Now the most important third section is an example of how a weak passport can save one's life. And I'm talking about the example of one of the most famous personalities in the world. And I'm referencing, and you guessed it right, I'm referencing the Nissan CEO's journey. Now, I'm not saying whether he did something right or wrong. When you're about to lose your life, you do crazy things. I'm not advising one should ever do anything remotely close to what he did. You should always follow the law, follow the rules, blah, 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 all the good stuff. But when it's about losing your life, people end up doing crazy things. And I think the story of this Nissan CEO is somewhat similar. Now, he had a portfolio of different travel documents. He had some really strong, good Western passports. But out of his portfolio, what really saved his life was his Lebanese passport. Now, he was able to use his Lebanese passport to return to his country of origin, and that saved his life. Now again, a big disclaimer, this is not immigration, legal, tax advice, and by no means I am saying what he did in his situation was correct, incorrect, anything. That's completely outside the scope of what I am discussing, but his example was truly an interesting one. Now, I typically don't talk about or refer any external videos on my channel, but this one documentary was truly mind-opening or an eye-opening experience for me. If you haven't checked out, if you're curious to learn which documentary, then return and check the link that appears above. And it's a very fascinating journey of what happened in his case. So that's the whole point. At the end of the day, you might have the most powerful access that you might ever think of, but you really have to sit and think, are you really looking for duplicating your access? Do you just want to have the fun of traveling on different travel documents, getting to the same place? Or are you looking for something truly unique, exotic to add to your portfolio so that you can have that peace of mind? Now, what are some excellent examples of some great countries that I personally truly like? I feel they're different. I feel they are quite strong in a different way. And I am really fond of Dominican Republic, a very underrated country. The moment you talk about Dominican Republic, a lot of people who really don't get this talk about how weak or poor the passport is. But I feel Dominican Republic is an extremely good option, very underrated. If you pick the right spots within the country, I think it has a fabulous, peaceful, safe life. And again, I'm not recommending this, I'm just giving my opinion, what I feel about Dominican Republic. There are a lot of locals, if you talk to a lot of expats in Dominican Republic who really love their experience from there. I think their passport is pretty exotic. So I really like that option. In my future videos, I'm going to cover a lot on Dominican Republic. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you're subbed so you don't miss out on any of that. And also hit the bell notification so you're instantly notified once any new video is created. And if you want to get started with any of the residencies that I'm mentioning or that I cover, then click that link in the description, book a call with us. We can discuss what you're specifically looking for and get you started with the residency or citizenship of your choice. Now, what are some of the other examples? There are a lot of fascinating, or rather I should say there are a couple of fascinating choices in Africa, which again I intend to cover in future. And there are some real hidden gems out there which are truly unique and truly exotic, and I feel are heavily underrated. And in hindsight, I feel they are more useful than your typical CBI countries. All right, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, give me a thumbs up and see you in the next one.